For weeks now, as usual, the gun-grabbing elitists have been trying to use the misuse of firearms in various cases across the country as an excuse for launching attacks on the rights of all law-abiding citizens to keep and bear arms. What's really needed, though, in dealing with criminals is an accentuation of the right of law-abiding citizens to keep and bear arms so they can defend themselves and their loved ones against the perpetrators of criminal acts. In other words, we don't need further restrictions on the right to keep and bear arms as proposed by some members of Congress and as sometimes espoused by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, and the various hyperkinetic gun grabbers who proliferate in the mainstream media. But what we really need is the right of law-abiding citizens to carry firearms concealed in various parts of the United States. Most states of the United States mandate the issuance of permits to carry concealed firearms to qualified individuals. As a matter of fact, a number of members of Congress from different parts of the United States, from both of our major political parties, men and women, have announced publicly that they have such permits or intend to get them and to rely on them in their actual carrying of firearms concealed for self-defense. However, what's really needed is a national policy of reciprocity concerning the carrying of concealed firearms, so that people who have a firearm issued by a state may carry that firearm in other states. For many years in the United States, we've had a policy of reciprocity with regard to the driving of automobiles, so that people who have a license to drive an automobile issued by a state may drive an automobile in any state of the United States. We need something like that regarding the carrying of concealed firearms, so that people who have a permit to carry a firearm in one state may carry firearms in other states. Fortunately, there is now a bipartisan effort in the House of Representatives, in the United States House of Representatives, to pursue a policy regarding reciprocity in the carrying of concealed firearms. Congressman Cliff Stearns of Florida, a Republican, and Heath Shuler of North Carolina, a Democrat, have proposed legislation which, if adopted, would create a federal standard in accordance with which non-residents of a state may carry firearms in that state. This would go a long way to dealing with this problem. Now, Representative Cliff Stearns of Florida for many years has been proposing such legislation, and he's to be most commended for his diligence in this regard. Congressman Shuler has, for many years, had been a player with the National Football League, played on different teams in the NFL. And it's great that he, who has had this background of sporting experience, sees the necessity of being able to carry a concealed firearm if necessary. Fortunately, too, the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, to which this legislation, which is designated officially H.R. 822, has been referred, also is a member of Congress with a strong background of support for the right of law-abiding citizens to keep and bear arms. That is Congressman Lamar Smith of Texas, who, since he's been in Congress, has been an outstanding and outspoken supporter of the individual Second Amendment civil right of law-abiding American citizens to keep and bear arms. We're very happy that Congress is beginning once again to pay attention to the right of law-abiding citizens. We hope that Congress will tell the gun grabbers within their midst, along with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, and gun control, hyperkinetic gun control supporters in the mainstream media, that the answer to crime is not more gun control. It is rather in solidifying the right of law-abiding citizens to keep and bear arms. A good way to begin solidifying that right is to establish a national policy with regard to the carrying of concealed firearms, to enable people who have the right to carry a concealed firearm in one state may be able to carry the firearm in other states. After all, this is now the 21st century, and people travel around the country or from state to state lots of times. People even live in one state and work in another state, and they do this very often on a daily basis. Also, a lot of people have to travel around just on their jobs. Plus, the travel is so easy for many people that they travel along with their families throughout the United States. So the law should be keeping up with the times rather than behind the times. This would be a way for Congress to start keeping up with the times with regard to the Second Amendment. Consequently, we think that people in the United States who believe in freedom and liberty and especially in the right of law-abiding citizens to keep and bear arms for self-defense, for the defense of their families and property, should contact their own U.S. representatives and ask them to become co-sponsors of or to support the legislation introduced by Cliff Stearns and Heath Shuler regarding the establishment of a national policy with regard to the reciprocity of the carrying of concealed firearms.